Hey guys, my name's Seth. I've spent my career building brands and e-commerce businesses, and past 4 to 6 months or so, really gotten in Claude Code to figure out how I can significantly increase the productivity in creating and running e-commerce businesses. So I wanted to share today, this is my first video, so give it a like if it's helpful, but I wanted to share something that's been a complete game changer in terms of how we approach email creation in Klaviyo. So I'm going to show you what we built and then walk you step by step exactly how to build it so you can build it yourself. Okay, so here is the project. If you haven't built in Cloud Code before, don't worry. I'll walk you through exactly how to set it up and get started. But basically, I just want to show you what the email builder does. So I want to create a new sale for United by Blue, which is an outdoor brand that I'm an investor in, where I want to promote Yak Hats, which we just launched. So I created two images. One's hero images, one is an image with benefits. You can create as many images as you want. And I'm just going to go in here and tell Claude, hey, Claude, I want you to create an email campaign for my Yak hats, which we're just launching. Please use social proof. And we're going to offer 30% off for this week only for the campaign. So it's truly a flash sale. Okay, I think that should be good. I know I misspelled Claude, but let's just hit enter and see what it does. Okay, so Claude just finished and created this file for us to review. It's saved locally, so we can review it, give us any comments, and then it's going to push it to Klaviyo and automatically create the campaign. But if we look at the campaign here in our browser, it went ahead and created the email campaign. It's got our standard header, added a sense of urgency at the top, which is great. Added tags on it. It's personalized, which is best practices for the email to cause opens. Immediately has call to action. Hero images, gives the reason for purchase, little overview of it, discount code, and then social proof that comes directly from our product reviews. So it really is pretty high quality. I don't think I would change a lot on here. I'd probably make a few minor edits. And then once I'm done with the edits, back in Claude, I just tell it to push the campaign to Klaviyo, and it'll create the campaign in Klaviyo. So that's it. So I want to show you exactly what this project does. Basically, what it sets up in the Klaviyo Builder project is you're gonna input a goal for the campaign for each campaign. You're gonna input images for each campaign. Once Klaviyo takes those in, it's going to set it up where it reviews your brand guidelines. It's going to review the design skill to make sure the emails look good and they don't look like slop. It's going to review your reviews and put in appropriate product reviews to add social proof. If you don't want it to add social proof, you don't have to include this in the skill itself, or you can ask it to skip that for certain email campaigns. Sometimes we don't want to include reviews, but the skill is here, which social proof is incredibly important to drive conversions. And then it's also going to review Klaviyo data to say how many emails should it create for the campaign, which segments are the most active and most likely to convert a campaign, and are there any splits that it should do in the segments? For instance, first-time purchasers of that certain product category versus repeat purchasers of that product category. Once it takes all this information, it's going to build a prototype locally. Again, you don't want it to push to Klaviyo, otherwise you're going to end up with a ton of templates in Klaviyo and a ton of campaigns that you're going to have to go in and delete after the fact. So it creates a local prototype. You can give Claude feedback on the prototype through the builder. It'll go back, make the edits. Once you're happy with the campaigns, then you can ask Claude to push the campaign to Klaviyo. And through Klaviyo's MCP server, it's going to push the template and then create the campaign in Klaviyo. So only thing you have to do is go into Klaviyo and basically review the campaign, review the segments, and schedule the campaign to run. Like I said, it's a huge time saver. It's something we used to pay other companies to do for us for thousands of dollars per month. And we're able to do right now for probably 15 minutes per campaign, which again is a huge unlock. So I'm going to walk you through exactly how to build it. So let's do that. Okay, so let me walk you through how to set up the project. First thing, you're going to go over to Visual Studio and download Visual Studio if you haven't already. If this is your first time using Claude Code, you're going to want to do this. Once you have that downloaded and set up, you're going to open it. First time you open it, you're going to want to install Claude Code directly into VS Code. Basically, it's going to allow you to leverage Claude Code in building out the project within VS Code. So you click on the boxes on the left side of your screen, which is extensions, should be able to find Claude Code, click on install. First time you log in, it'll ask you to log in to your Claude account. So do that. I recommend if you're new to Claude Code and doing projects, you're going to want the Pro or Max plan. Otherwise, you just run out of tokens way too quickly and it's just not useful. Once you have Claude Code installed, we're going to go in and basically open up a chat window with Claude Code. Make sure there's a generic chat window. Make sure it's the Claude Code chat window. And we're also going to open the Explorer up here, which basically shows everything in your project folder. So I went ahead and created a folder called Klaviyo Builder. You can save that on your local machine anywhere you want to. And then we're just going to add one file to it called Claude MD. MD is a markdown file, basically tells Claude what to do for the project. We're going to have Claude create the file itself. So that really sets it up using best practices and organizes everything the way it needs to organize it. But it's generally good just to set up the folder and then we can get started on the prompt. Okay, so the prompt for this project is incredibly important. Started with a prompt basically telling Claude to build a project to build emails in Klaviyo. I've iterated on that several times or improved on the skill and the project just based on learning. So as we went through the project and the initial emails were not on brand or were not designed well enough, we went through and asked Claude to update the skill and the project to incorporate those things. So I'm going to give it a relatively long prompt compared to some other projects in Claude Code, but it's really designed to avoid some of the mistakes I made and also use some of the best practices that I found when I set this up. Hey, Claude, I want you to create a project to build emails for my brand in Klaviyo using Klaviyo's MCP server. Organize the project folder using best practices and prompt me to create an envelope for my Klaviyo API. I want the emails to look professionally designed, so in addition to creating a new Klaviyo writer skill to write the emails, I want you to reference my brand guidelines, including fonts, logos, brand guideline files, and inspiration from other brands in a brand folder, and also utilize an existing front-end design skill that I will give you the reference for to design the emails. Please reference my top-performing Klaviyo email campaigns in the past year for additional guidelines in designing new email campaigns, and analyze my top-performing emails in terms of click-throughs and conversions in order to make recommendations for the optimal strategy for new campaigns with respect to Klaviyo segments, recommended audience splits, and number and timing of emails. When building the Klaviyo Builder skill, refer to Klaviyo documentation, as well as at least 5 third-party resources for best practices in 2026 in creating email campaigns for e-commerce brands. I also want you to create a skill to analyze product reviews under my brand and utilize social proof in my emails to drive confidence and conversions. For each email campaign, I will give you images, a topic, and sometimes inspiration from other emails that I like. Ask me whether to develop it in HTML or to be compatible with Klaviyo's drag and drop editor. Also, make sure to develop the email campaign in HTML locally so I can review it and make edits. Once I approve the campaign and segments, create the template within Klaviyo in the format I specified, and then create the draft campaigns that I can then review and schedule to send myself. Okay, so here's the prompt. I'm going to go, if you click on the little corner down here, it's going to give you the mode for using Claude within VS Code. I'm going to start in plan mode just to make sure that Claude understood the project correctly. I know it was a long prompt compared to some other prompts, but it incorporates a lot of the learnings that I've learned. So let's see what it does for plan mode. Okay, so Claude has been working on the project plan for the last 2 minutes. It has a few questions. So one of the questions, which design skills should be the primary reference for email visual design? I want to use my brand as well as the front-end design. And for the Klaviyo API key, how do you want to configure it? I'm going to ask it to use an envelope file, which I asked in the prompt, which keeps it more secure. And then the review file is asking me where I'm going to save the review. So it'll create a folder for my reviews to live in. So Let me give it the answers. It's going to then come up with the plan for the project. Okay, so now basically Claude came up with the project plan. It gives me the context. It gives me its proposed folder structure to keep things organized using best practices. And then it gives me the implementation steps in terms of creating a project. So it's always good to take a look through this, make sure there's nothing off kilter. But in my experience, usually it's pretty spot on. And if you need things to be a little bit different, you can always iterate on the project going forward. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell Claude to accept the plan. One thing that is helpful in this corner, set of edit automatically if you go into bypass permissions. If you're not able to do that, you can go in settings and look up online how to enable that. But basically it'll enable Claude to set up the whole project while you're doing some other things. So it gives all sorts of warnings for this. I've never had an issue with it, especially in the scope of what we're doing here. So let's accept the plan. And then Claude's going to go through and set up the project. One thing I want to note, Klaviyo does have AI tools built in. In my experience, the tools are helpful for some things. If you want to analyze segments, for win back opportunities, or to try to do predictive analytics about customers, those AI skills are helpful. Haven't really found the email writer or drafting skills to be that great in Klaviyo with AI. I've spent the last year playing around with GPT and some other AI tools to try to help build high converting emails, and they're not great. The emails need a lot of work. I think it's kind of the vision of what AI could be, but I've been frustrated over the past year with what it actually outputs. So setting up this project to help me build emails efficiently based on best practices, comb through the reviews, include social proof, and do everything basically for me within a matter of minutes is absolutely game changing for me as compared to the existing Klaviyo AI skills. So as Claude goes through this, it's going through the to-dos in terms of creating the project. It's basically set up the brand assets, email directory, snippets, set up the appropriate folders with placeholder files, and right now it's creating the skills. If you don't know about Claude skills, think of it as having an employee or an intern that the first day they get on the job, you teach them how to build an email. They do an AK job, you go back, tell the employee, okay, you have to generally use these brand fonts, read a book on writing emails, and come back with the next draft. So skills basically gives guidelines, rules, what to do, what not to do. And since it references the skills every time it writes the emails, as you go through this and iterate on the project and refine how your emails look and how they're built, you can ask Claude to update the skill and incorporate some of those changes into the skill so that you don't need to go and retrain it going forward. The first emails you get probably won't be perfect, but as you refine the skills in Claude, you're going to get much, much better outputs each and every time. Okay, so it's 2 minutes later. Claude created the project, created all the files for the project. It has the brand assets that we need to now populate: email structure, overview, snips to incorporate into emails, analysis, which is going to analyze our existing Klaviyo campaigns through the MCP server, and then the project skills. So, and then it gives you next steps down here. So the next thing we need to do is add our Klaviyo API key envelope file. We could add it directly to Claude, but because Claude syncs up with the cloud, doing that's unsecure. So best practice is to use a local .env file, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Drop your reviews CSV into the reviews so it has something to analyze. Then you're going to ask Claude to populate the analysis files once you're connected to Klaviyo and you have the reviews positioned. Add email inspiration if we want to, and then start building emails. So let me show you next how to do all these things. First thing we're going to do is add our Klaviyo API to the envelope file. So if you click on the envelope file, here's the file here. Let's just make it a little bit bigger. We need to generate a Klaviyo API key. So let's go into Klaviyo. Here I am within Klaviyo. You're going to click on your account. You're going to click on settings. And then on the left here, you can see API keys. So we're going to create a private API key. We can name our key. We can call it Claude 2. And then we're basically going to give it access to all of our information on Klaviyo. Now you could, if you want to, limit the access for security purposes. I find it just limits what Claude can do. But again, if you're concerned about security, you may want to limit the access to writing campaigns, reading campaigns. But if you really want to use this to the full power, being able to review segments, I just generally give full access. You can click full access here, and then now it created a private key. So I'm going to copy that, and within my Klaviyo builder, I'm going to click in here, paste my private key, and close out of here. Save. Okay. So now my API key for Klaviyo is now in the envelope file. I'm going to add my raw review files. Okay, so I have it in a CSV file. I basically exported out of Yotpo, which we use for reviews in our brands. I'm going to come under here. You can export the reviews into a CSV file, which is what I did. So I'm just going to paste that here. And then we're going to ask Claude we're going to tell it I added the Klaviyo API and reviews. Please populate analysis files. It's going to log into Klaviyo, review that. It's going to review the reviews and populate the analysis files. You could have it do this every time it runs, but it's going to be a lot less efficient. It's going to use a lot more tokens. By doing it this way and basically setting up a local analysis file that it can update as time goes on, you're going to save a lot of time with Claude having to go back and forth to reference Klaviyo's MCP server. You can see here it says the Klaviyo MCP server isn't connected. Basically, we just need to close out of VS Code and then reopen it into this project to get that MCP server starting. Okay, so basically Claude has set up the project. What you need to do now, and again, Claude will let you know what's missing, is drop in your brand assets, so your fonts, your colors, your logos. You can do that through your Finder. So basically, if you open the project wherever you saved it, you just go in here, and drop in your logo files so that they're here and available for the email builder to use and reference, your color palettes, things like that. If you don't, for some reason, you don't have fonts, you don't have colors, you can leave them out. I found that Claude will input that if you have comments on things and say, hey, use this font going forward. You're basically ready now to build emails. You populate that information and Claude does all the analysis. You can go in and go into under emails and campaigns and create a new campaign. So if we wanted to do BOGO on mugs, we could just add the images, whatever assets we want to use in here, and then go back into Claude Code through VS Code and say, hey, create me a campaign for buy one, get one free on mugs. So that's it. Hopefully you found this helpful. Again, I'll try to link to all the files to save you some time building these in case that's helpful underneath the video. Just a couple quick comments on limitations. One, Klaviyo MCP server basically connects into the Klaviyo API and allows you to interact with Klaviyo through Claude. It does a lot of things. It cannot fully automatically create the campaign and set it to run. It's a good and bad thing. I think for me, I feel better having to go in and schedule the campaign, make sure everything looks right before it actually clicks send. So I don't mind that as a limitation. The other thing, you can use this tool, and maybe I'll create another video showing how to do that, but you can use this tool to do basically anything within the Klaviyo environment in terms of analysis. So I found it really helpful. You can set up to analyze your email flows. I'm back with best practices on improving your flows, things that aren't working or aren't working. You can have it analyze your customers and your segments and come up with recommendations based on people's purchasing habits. Klaviyo has a ton of information about your customers. So again, I found it very helpful to do analysis on emails and really help improve your email campaigns. So guys, that's basically it. Thanks for watching. Like I said, this is my first YouTube video, so hopefully you found this helpful. Huge shout out to Nate Herc. His videos have been really, really helpful in my learning Claude Code and understanding some of the capabilities. And the front end design skill for the email builder actually came from one of his videos on website design. I've been working on some other projects, including building out some Shopify websites and landing pages through Claude Code. It's really, really interesting and cool what it can do. And what I'm really looking for is how to leverage Claude Code to save time and money on the most impactful things in my businesses. So again, hopefully this was helpful. If it was, give me a like, share some comments. And if you have ideas for future videos or things that I could do to improve the Klaviyo Builder. And thanks for watching.